saying no to 90% of the market. When is that actually the best go-to-market strategy?
For me, it literally was a no-brainer. I take slivers of where I see gaps in ecosystem, and that's what I focus on.
AI to Go podcast.
Welcome to AI to Go, the podcast where we learn from the builders, buyers, and backers shaping enterprise AI. I'm your host, Johannes. Today, I'm joined by enterprise guru and serial entrepreneur Chris Carter, the chairman and CEO of Approyo and the founder of Mugatu AI. Chris, great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Johannes. I am honored to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
You came out of self-retirement in 2013 and founded Approyo because a friend showed up at your house with a bottle of Scotch, sat at your fire pit and said, you need to get back in the game. SAP is starting cloud. So
You've done your homework.
Some of us witnessed the iPhone moment. Most of us witnessed the ChatGPT moment. You had your Scotch moment back in 2013. Tell me what that conversation looked like. What did you see in the SAP cloud in 2013 that other people weren't seeing or even missing?
We started drinking at the fire pit. We started talking about what SAP HANA was, what their cloud motive was, how they were going to draw upon that. And so by the time we finished the bottle, which was probably around 1 o'clock in the morning or so, I was on phone calls to Germany. I was on phone calls to Palo Alto, California. And what I did is I ended up going to Germany for a week, then coming home.
The headquarters.
After I learned everything about what was going on over there, how it was, why it was, literally got home 12 hours later. I kissed my wife, kissed my babies, grabbed my to-go bag, and was on another plane to Palo Alto, California. And the reason I did that was SAP had come up with this in-memory database, and with cloud and in memory, and now the speed and the capabilities, I really liked what was going on with HANA. And for me, I'm an old machine learning, I'm an old SAP guy. I've been doing this almost my entire career. I just loved what was happening. So I literally understood what they were doing, how they were going to do it, what they were going to do. And I begged them to make me an SAP startup focused program partner. So literally within 3 months, we went from not even being a company, not having a product, not doing anything, to having a fully functioning SAP HANA cloud. And I was presenting at our largest trade show of the year, which was Sapphire, by May of that year. So 5 months into it. For me, those are the exciting things. I love doing that stuff.
It's a pretty wide ride. I even remember when SAP announced their cloud program and they're moving into cloud back then. So that was a fundamental thing in enterprise.
It really was. And it was a fundamental change for them because everything was either bare metal or VMware based. And so we had actually created the first SAP cloud. I got in trouble for showcasing that cloud without the signatures of VMware and SAP approving the software was going to work together.
I can imagine. For some that, like, you have your background in SAP, right? You spent decades working in the SAP ecosystem. So you choosing SAP as the platform to build on is not a big surprise. But making that the exclusive platform, I think, is very interesting, right? You chose SAP, nothing else, no Oracle, no ServiceNow, even when your clients asks. Now, in a world where everybody's building full service shops, you went deep instead of broad. Can you tell me from a founder's perspective today, saying no to probably 90% of the market, why is that, or when is that actually the best go-to-market strategy?
Yes, for me, it really was because I believed in the SAP ecosystem. I believed in what was going on. Still today, I look at it and I think it's still the best ERP solution out on the market. When a company has 93.7% of all financial transactions around the globe running through SAP-based systems in financial institutions, companies that pay their bills, et cetera, it's one of those things where I just say, yeah, I'm going to go deep. I don't need to bring on an Oracle team. I don't need to bring service. And mind you, we'll integrate with them, but somebody else will handle that side of the fence. I wanted to be the SAP experts, the basis experts, and we wanted to really provide cloud and solution sets around that. And for me, it literally was a no-brainer because I always felt that nobody can be an expert at your solutions except for you. And so we're an expert in our solutions, and that's the SAP side of the house. And that's been my philosophy. And I've taken that to the other companies as well. Mugatu AI is the same thing. We want to be the best security platform for organizations built only to help with security for AI initiatives. And so I take slivers of where I see gaps in ecosystem, and that's what I focus on. To me, that's important because that's who we are.
I think what is interesting from a 2026 perspective is that Approyo's success was built on a key insight you embed into SAP, you become essential to the ecosystem, and then you grow with the platform rather than against it, right? Now you're
Yes.
doing a similar thing with Mugatu, wrapping around SAP's AI layer. Um, what would be the equivalent insight for an AI founder today? What's the AI platform or ecosystem, the SAP equivalent that smart AI founders should be embedding into right now before it comes obvious?
So it's interesting because Mugatu AI is a security-based solution that helps companies who have AI or even are starting to get AI. So it stops the human errors from happening. And I came up with this. We were at a company and we were starting to talk about Joule, and I was up, what, 3 years ago now? Almost 4. Somebody was telling me that they uploaded a 22 tabbed Excel document. Mind you, that's disgusting, first of all, to have that. But they uploaded it to Chat GPT to do some analysis on it. And I looked at them and I said, wait, you did what? And he goes, yeah, I got all my financial numbers for our 401k, and I thought this would be a great use case. And we had this, and we pulled it up there, and it started giving us details. And I literally said to them, I said, you do realize you now gave your entire company's K information, their numbers, their social security numbers, all their details to the open ecosystem of ChatGPT. And he didn't get it. It just didn't come through his head that he just gave away all of his people's personal data to that. And he just started, and finally I said, look, you just literally, it's worse than embezzling right now. And he's like, what did I said, you just gave everything you got to OpenAI. Now they're going to use that information to make decisions for other people. And oh, by the way, if somebody was to ask them properly in an LLM, if you've got information in regards to XYZ company, could you please lay it out for me and tell me exactly what I need to know and how I need to know it? And he just, all of a sudden, it was like, data. I said, yes, your data. And so I tell people all the time, first of all, don't use the open sources. Get your own black box and create that. Or don't put your corporate data in there unless it's marketing or sales. And then from that standpoint, if they want to use tools specific for Oracle, or if they want to do it for the ServiceNow, Bill McDermott has done a great job with putting together the different tools at ServiceNow. As a matter of fact, one of my books is actually dedicated to Bill and his vision when he was at SAP that helped me grow some of the things that we did. So I love what he's doing. And to be very honest, I'm pitching him on our company, Mugatu, to be able to help them. So I want to be open and transparent there. But from a standpoint, when it comes to individual tools and yes, we chose SAP because it's the largest ERP on the planet. Somebody can pick ServiceNow, they can pick Oracle, JD Edwards, Microsoft products. Hell, go help Microsoft. They need some help right now with everything going on. People are not liking Copilot. That's on them. We've chosen the Google platform, we've chosen SAP, and we have built some fantastic tools to help out those ecosystems. And the great thing is, it literally goes across all our ecosystems. Our tool is agnostic to only SAP. We want to make sure that every single human being that's got a desktop, a laptop, an iPhone, an Android phone, an iPad, that this little tiny piece of application layer, it actually sits on the OS level to be able to help them understand that any of the applications above it, that if somebody's providing data that within 100 to 150 milliseconds, it literally stops them and gives them a security score and says, do you really want to send that critical data in an email across these channels going here? You might want to put this in your SharePoint, or you will put this in your Dropbox and send a link, or your Google Drive and send a link. And so it's really a helpful tool for individuals to do that. And I love the security score. It really gets people all of a sudden, they're like, wait, that's a 3? Wait, I'm used to getting these. What? Yeah, that's a naughty thing. You can't be sending that.
You want to explain the use case briefly?
Sure. Okay. So we got a tool called Cloakworks, and our tool has a tool called Signal attached to it. So everybody who would download the tool, Literally, it integrates from your operating system upward. So if you're using AI tools or if you're sending data across your emails, it will literally tell you and it gives you a security score. It will notify you immediately. But then as soon as you hit that send button, literally 100 plus 150 milliseconds, it's telling you because it's using the embeddedness inside your OS to tell you that, hey, you're sending a document filled with social security numbers or with financial numbers or whatever. And then the great thing is not only the email activities and all the major emails are attached to it, if you're on a website like I'm on multiple Google, I got Gemini up right now, I've got Gamma up right now, I've got others up. Literally, it would tell you if you start to upload anything to that site, your system would literally say, this is a violation. Do you really want to be uploading this information into that particular site? And so it protects you as the human. Now, what's the end use on that? And I make a joke, and I'm grabbing the old phone because I literally said this morning to I sent this off to a customer, and he literally said to me, made a comment, and I said to him, "It's not the fear of missing out; it's the fear of messing up." What is it going to cost you if somebody on your team messes up? And one of the things I see all the time is people send that information up. Look at what's going on with these data breaches. People are using AI for data breaches. Well, now we're using AI for security and the support. And I think it's better to be safe and secure. And at $1 a user, it's no big deal. So it's there to protect you and your company.
I love it. It's so
There's no more
important.
messing up.
Yeah, it's so important in these days to have a solution that tells you what you can upload. The use case is top of mind here for a lot of executives and enterprises.
Security should be a top of mind, and it's an inexpensive way to secure your people and your systems. So when they do mess up, it stops them.
As a serial entrepreneur, how do you validate ideas? Like, how did that idea came about, and what did you do in order to prove that there's value in pursuing this?
Well, that's a great question. And that's why I use AI and I use it so much. I literally got the idea after that 22 tabbed Excel document. I still chuckle on that. I can't believe those are still a thing. So the 22 tabbed, and I literally was leaving. I left, I chit chatted with everybody, and I got into my car and I started thinking. And now, mind you, on here, I also have all my Google tools. So I have my Gemini's up, and I just started talking to my Gemini. I literally was in the car, had it connected to my Air Connect, and I continuously started having conversations with it. And I read a book a number of years ago, Jeff Wolf, and he is a phenomenal AI writer. Talks about having conversations with your AI. Now, I'll be honest, Gemini is my BFF at work. We talk back and forth. We ask questions of each other. I ask it questions and it asks me questions. And so I started asking questions back and forth about the capabilities, the strengths, security, integrations, how I could use this when we started going back. I literally had to drive from their place to the airport, took about an hour, got the car done, got into the club room, and I was still having this long conversation. And it's funny, I look at my chat now and it just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. And we go back to that and it literally, we had this, and I kept going back and reading it. And finally, I just said, okay, now let's build it. Let's build it and let's have a conversation. So we went off to a company that's ITAR compliant, federally regulated, and we started having conversations. Well, would this be a benefit to you? Well, how would you do that? I don't know if that's even possible. I said, well, it's possible. We got you. You want to try it out? And I said, I'm not going to charge you anything. I need a reference and I need somebody to actually test it out because they have a small staff. And so we started the process. And within 2 days, their network people and their other people came back and just said, this is incredible. I can't believe it's stopping this. We had no idea people were doing this. They had a SharePoint file system that literally people were uploading their own baby pictures to and videos when there was only supposed to be used for specific activities. And I tell you, it just blew my mind that people didn't understand that they didn't have these things to stop them. And it was fantastic. I just loved it. So we knew it was going to be a winner.
Sounds so easy. But you're using Gemini as your thought partner in early stage idea development, right? That's
Yes.
really
because you can integrate Notebook LM and Gemini together in any conversation that you want. So I would do something with Gemini, then I would jump into my Notebook LM, and I still do this all the time. I've got them both up here. And then I would run scenarios, build scenarios within them, and then bounce back to the other one and have some conversation. Then I would start going into Flow, and then I would start going into Canvas, and then I would take all of that and I would put it into anti-gravity. And then anti-gravity would literally build some. And if I didn't like it right away, I could go back into the other two and tweak it, and I could change my project. It makes it so easy to just bounce between everything.
You are a super experienced entrepreneur. You started 11 companies, you sold several, and you managed one bankruptcy as well. Most founders only talk about the wins. That's what everybody likes. What's the failure that shaped how you build companies most?
It still rocks me to this day, Johannes. I had a client, well, I had the company, it was CCI, and CCI did SAP services and support for organizations pre-cloud and pre-activity, and we did a great job with it. Unfortunately, I put a lot of eggs in one basket, and Siemens Global Systems came to us and said, you are going to lose 65% of your revenue. Well, actually, what they said is, here's a new contract, it's 65% cut. You need to either accept this or we're going to move all of our people to, or your people and whoever we got, to our new India team. And I was just gutted, absolutely gutted, when you lose 65+% on one customer and you're looking around thinking, okay, I can't make this up. How am I going to handle this? It really was horrible. I guess keep my emotions on my sleeve, people say. But at the end of the day, I really like and take care of my teams. And I couldn't. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't find that in 2 weeks before the new year. Literally, they gave us that 2 weeks before the end of the year, and it was horrible. And I get where they were coming from, but it would have been nice to at least have some notice and have some, but 2 weeks was horrible. And so there was no other thing I could do but other than let people go. And then we made the decision that because there was just not enough there for the contracts and activities, we kind of put it to bed. And I decided I kind of ran away and hid, and I took a position as a sales executive for a company. And I liked helping other people, and I still wanted to, but I really ran away. I was not a very skilled executive to keep my head above water and to not have the emotions. Sometimes I wonder how guys like Bill McDermott do that. Things happen and how they take those punches. Well, I learned real quick, and actually I have this sign now back here. This is the Rocky Balboa quote. Talks about how life is never going to hit as hard as it, and you've got to keep moving up. You got to keep getting up. And so I've had that now on my wall for, a good decade now, no matter where it is. It reminds me every day that this too shall pass, the positives and the negatives, and you just have to keep moving forward and getting up off the mat. And so that's what I did. And that's why that bottle of Scotch story, when we first brought on board, was so important, because literally Michael basically drank me into getting back into it and getting back into SAP and really trying to help this ecosystem, which I love so much.
What would be the lesson learned here for everyone? Like, if you are dependent on a single client and you're just ramping up things, like, is that just a risk that you have to take as an entrepreneur, or what would you do differently?
Yes, as an entrepreneur, you can't put all those eggs in the one single contract. So I try to make sure that no one single contract is more than 20% of any of our business. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you get these great customers and they want and they want and they need and they need, and you keep building them up. So you got to go out there and you got to keep hunting. You got to keep finding the net news. And so I continuously try to do that as well.
Yeah. How do you do that when you are stuck with like a few big clients that are very demanding, where like a lot of capacity gets eaten up, and then at the same time you're out there hunting new clients? Like, how do you manage that?
Oh, it's tough. I used to have a good head of hair like you too, and I've pulled it out quite a bit. It is tough. Being though it's easier to keep a customer than it is to get a new customer. Everybody always says that from a sales perspective, and I agree. I try to make sure that those customers that we have are well taken care of. Uh, people might say I'm kissing their ass, but no, what I'm doing is I'm giving them the customer service they deserve. They've paid for, they've earned that. And I tell my staff that all the time. These people are entrusting you to give them the things they need to be successful. I want all of us to make sure that they can sleep well at night. They don't have to worry about it. We're taking on those responsibilities. We're the ones that have got to eat the pain so they don't have to, so they don't have to feel it. And so it's a hard balancing act, you know. I'm I'm flying across the country and the world for customers on notice sometimes, and it's making sure that they're taken care of. I don't want them to feel pain. That's why they hired us.
Yeah. You have a very useful framework for every technology implementation, which is train first, find the passionate champion, and then sell it from the top down. I've seen this pattern too from the enterprise buyer side. Most AI founders kind of reverse the order. They find the executive sponsor, they skip the champion, and then they rush the training. Why does that order matter so much? And what does the passionate champion actually look like in practice?
Well, that's a great person to have. Once you have that person that is just will do anything for you and your organization and your product, that's the person because they will sell it up the food chain. And that person, if you're making them happy and their job easier, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to give them better quality and you're trying to make sure that they do their job and you're trying to ease the pains. Like I said earlier, I want them to sleep well at night. So that passionate companion of ours, that person's going to sell it throughout the organization. You find that person that just cares so much about what you're doing and how you're helping them, they will tell anybody and everybody that you ask them to. We've got many of those at our customer sites. And it's funny, I'm bringing several of them to Sapphire this year in Orlando, and we're putting together presentations and we're sitting down with people. This is why we work so well together and what they do and how we do. And that's the person. And then the training piece, honest, I'm telling you right now, organizational change management, OCM, or any type of training activity, it falls by the wayside so quickly with these organizations that, no, I'm not spending $1 million on training. They'll figure it out. It can't be as difficult as what ECC was or the other AI tools or this, that, or the other. And then all of a sudden you find out it's a completely different animal. And then you find out also those people that you didn't train are literally, I don't want to be trained. I'm not going to learn something new. You've already put me through 2 SAP upgrades. I'm not going to do a third. It's yes, it happens quite a bit as well. But
I
I
think
think training is important.
the missing link is really the passionate internal champion. How do you find that as a founder in a large enterprise, and how do you cultivate the relationship before the pilot even starts?
It's hard. I go to a lot of different events. I like to find people who are part of companies or part of industries of companies that we're going after. We like highly regulated. They can't have people messing up, so we got to do activities. And then if I see these people at these events on a number of different times, I know that that's a person that's motivated for a reason. Let's get in contact. Let's build a relationship. Let's build a rapport. Let's teach them the solutions. Let's help them understand why this is and try to make them into our passionate person. And once we get them, because that training them of what our tools are, how it's going to keep them happy, how it's going to keep them from missing their 5-year-old daughter's dance competitions. Once we can teach them those things, then we've gone through that process. That's our companion. But it is very, very difficult to find those individuals to cultivate that relationship. So you have to go through a number of different scenarios to try and find them and try to work with them. Use your friends, use your families, use your partners, use your whoever you can find, try to leverage it.
When you meet early stage AI founders and they say they are building for the enterprise, what's usually the biggest gap that you see?
Oh, great question. Entrepreneurs who, and it's interesting, I'm talking to a lot of them these days. There was over 1,500 of them at an event this past week in Las Vegas that I met with. A lot of them are young, very young. They know the tools and they know AI, but they don't know what an enterprise is. They don't know how to work in an enterprise. They don't know how to leverage and be a part of that enterprise because they've never done it. Where I've been doing this since the 1980s. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm that old and I'm proud of it. I've got my scars. They don't have scars. They're building cool tools and building cool things, but they've never worked in an enterprise. And that's an interesting concept. So it was funny. I was talking with a young man in Vegas this weekend, and he was talking about his great tool. And mind you, it was fantastic. I was really impressed. And then he made a similar comment. And I said, "So, what ERP are you working on? What enterprise solutions are you working on?" "Oh, all of them." I said, "Well, is there any specific one that you're really focused on? What kind of enterprise?" "Oh, we're going to go after all of them. We're going to make that sure. And I don't care what industry." I said, "Well, how's your integration with SAP, or how's your integration with Oracle? Or what do you do with ServiceNow?" "Oh, we've got the APIs. We'll be just fine." I said,
Mhm.
"Okay, well, I loved your product, man. I wish you luck." And I left. And it's literally, that's the point. If you don't know what the enterprise is and how the enterprise works and how they integrate and what their tools are, you're kind of be left behind. And that's why I'm still focused so much on the SAP space with, and now dabbling on the AI side to be able to do from a security standpoint, utilizing clouds, because we can do it beyond any cloud.
Got it. And what's one thing an early founder could do that would instantly make them more credible in an enterprise room? What is your top 3 or top 5 list?
So a couple of things. Young people don't want to write books these days. I wrote 17 of them back there. And the reason I did that is I wanted to lay a foundation. So when I go and I talk to a company and I lay a few books there and I say, "These are for you guys. I want you to get a sense of what we do, why you're talking with us, our capabilities, and what I bring to the table along with my team." It gives a sense of knowledge. These people know what they're talking about if they're on book. And each one of those books probably has maybe about 1,000 plus people have purchased each one. And then the rest of them I give away at trade shows and stuff. Now, mind you, that's nice. 99 cents a pop. I earned $1,000 each. Great. But for me, it's about showing credibility. It shows about my depth, my skills, our team skills, that we're willing to do the hard work to put it out there. And we want them to start with a flat baseline. Or as we say here, I want to build a basement of a strong foundation. So then that way, when the three little piggies are in there and the wolf comes by, it's not going to blow down. And you need that. And I think that's a good piece. So that's number one. Two, get out there and meet people, get involved with people. Just because you did something doesn't mean anybody else knows about it. I've got a great personal assistant. She helps me with getting every podcast, every article, every book, anything I do goes out there. We want people to know that I'm here to help and I'm willing to share my knowledge with other people. That's why I tell people, and I'll ask you at the end, Johannes, can you please have people go to my LinkedIn so I can have either a beer, a coffee, or a bourbon with them? I love to talk with people. I love to hear their ideas. I get pitched people's ideas all the time. I get asked if we want to do business together. I get asked if we want to partner together. But I just love the conversations that happen from that. So that's number two. Get involved and get integrated with people, talk with people, and never be the smartest person in the room. If you're in a room of smart people and you are the smartest one, get the hell out of that room and get to the next room, because you need to be learning from other people. Like-minded people is great, but you need to expand your horizons. This weekend I felt like the dumbest person in the room. Sure, I've done some things and I've been very blessed, but I'm listening to some of these VCs and Ps talk about us. Listening to some of these young people talk about their new tools and what they're building. And when it came to my turn, literally, I felt like I gave them my resume and then told them exactly what we were doing. And I didn't know if that was right or wrong, because I've never pitched to a VC or PE group. And so I was in a room of much smarter people compared to me when that activity. And so I see that is a huge benefit. And then my fourth piece I'll leave young people with: learn the tools, learn as many things as you can. Never stop learning. I'm 56 years old, turning 57 this year. I spent the last year doing nothing but learning all of the Google tools, the anti-gravities, the notebook LMs, the Geminis, and watch them grow along with me. It grew as I was learning the knowledge. Learn your tools. I want to learn. Keep learning. Never stop learning. So
Curiosity.
those are, I think, are four key things for every young entrepreneur.
I love it. I would love to go behind closed doors for a second.
Yes.
Decades of SAP transformations and migrations. I'm sure there are a few stories that span across the good, the bad, and the ugly. You've walked into enterprise transformations that were completely off the rails, migration stalled for years. What is the most broken implementation you've ever inherited?
Yeah. So it's actually a customer we originally lost. Offshore company. I won't give their name, but they're an offshore Indian firm. We'll just leave it at that. They came in and they underbid us by like 40%. And the customer is a great customer. I've known them for years. Said, hey, they're willing to do this and they're going to let us go live in 6 months and blah blah blah. And I looked at him. I said, "Do you believe them?" And he hesitated for a moment because I think he was trying to read me. I goes, well, that's what they said they're going to do. And that's what we've decided we're going to move forward. Then if you're not going to willing to meet that, I said, I can't. I said, give me a call in 6 months. And one day when things go awry, if you need me, we'll be here for you. 6 months and a week afterwards, unfortunately, he got let go. The number two and number three in command didn't get moved up, but they got to take over. They called us and said, hey, we need your help. We know you guys care about our company. We care. We've always enjoyed working with you. They have been horrible. We are nowhere near. We got in there. I walked in along with some of my CIO and some other people as part of our teams. And we looked at what they'd done. For 6 months, it looked like they did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. There was no organizational change management. There was no project plan that was fully written off and completed and ready to go. There was no infrastructure assessment. There was no license assessment, nothing. And I had to take the two guys aside and say, who's been monitoring this project? Who's been managing it? Who's been doing the daily notifications? Who's been doing all the documentation with SAP in regards to licenses? Who's been talking with the RISE team? And they said, we don't know. They said they were doing it. That's not how this works. And so within 48 hours, that entire organization was thrown. They brought close to 200 people onto this project. And what they were doing is they were internally training their people, and then they would flip them out and put them somewhere else and say, hey, we've got experience. We've been doing this project and, they're going to go live in a couple of months. And that's what they were doing. So they were giving their people experience, and it turned out horrible. Now I feel bad for any company. Anytime they tell me that they've got or been working with this company, I instantly say, you need to call this company immediately. And it is what it is. So we took on the responsibility. We helped them. And literally we went back to our plan of a year. And within a year, they were where they should have been 18 months earlier. And so it's how I feel bad in our ecosystem nowadays. I'll be very honest, Johannes. It's honest, Johannes. I like that. We're going to have to honest, Johannes.
A
Hey,
good
that's
one.
you, buddy. You're so honest. I need to be honest with this. Our ecosystem has become a breeding ground for uneducated, incapable people simply because we are in the largest upgrade cycle in history. And it hurts me because I've been doing this since the 1980s. It hurts. We have such great tools. We have such great people doing things. We have great companies running the software. It really sticks in my craw that people just come in and think that they can do these kind of things to any of our ecosystem because we are in that upgrade cycle. And it's brutal. I just wish more companies knew not to do that and we could alleviate them as much as we could. But too many people see a dollar that they're going to save, and they'd rather go that way than know that they're not going to get that at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one for you as an enterprise guru. There are so many AI pilots in the pipeline that are being executed. The proof of concept is a killer. You have amazing reviews with the pilot team, and then the project dies in procurement or it gets stuck in an IT review for months.
Yes.
Why do pilots fail to make it to production? And what should AI founders be doing differently from day one to avoid that graveyard of pilots?
So the CEO of that company that is providing the pilot. So if I walk into a company and say, hey, yes, we love it, we're going to do a pilot, I will be spending as much time with the CEO, procurement people, the CIO. I'm going to be walking them through what we do almost every day on a weekly basis. I want them to see how this is going to benefit them, why you need to start allocating budget for the bigger project in the next 6 months or 12 months or whatever the case may be. You need to be walking down the hallways with whoever your sponsor is and that person that loves you and is cuddling you and you've been training and working with. Say, I want to meet the head of procurement. I want to meet with your CIO. I want to meet with your CEO. I want to meet with you, and literally sit down and put together presentations, documentation, so on and so forth. You have to be the one to be your biggest cheerleader. Then the next one is the person who brought you in at that company. Be on. My wife says it all the time. Man, it's like you've got the ego of yourself. I do. I think my people are great. I think my companies are great. I think we do incredible work. Do we screw up? Yes. Every once in a while we screw up. But you know what? I will fall on every sword for our screw ups because that's who I am. That's who we are. But at the end of the day, we are going to make sure that you're taken care of. These projects work. And so you need to cheerlead yourself. And don't think it's because of your ego or whatever the case may be. You need to do that because that's how you sustain business. That's how you grow. That's how you sell. That's how you keep customers and win new customers. So, in that opinion, these young entrepreneurs, they can't do it from a position of being an asshole. They need to do it from a position of, hey, you brought us in here. We're doing this POC. Let me tell you how great this is going and really get it in there. Now, don't wrap the whole cake in Fonda, but make sure you're telling them everything and anything to be successful. And keep the ego out of it, but be strong enough to know you need to use your ego.
Yeah, and you need to be a cheerleader in an organization that has like hundreds or even thousands of different vendors, right?
Yes, stand out. Stand out.
I think the point is completely fair, having management alignment and fostering visibility across the C-level. My question for you is, there's a tension, like I have my internal champion and then I have my management that I also need to be visible, right? How do you manage the tension between like the internal champion that is more on operational level, and then you have the executive level that is probably 3 or 4 or 5 hierarchy levels above that internal champion? How do you manage that and keep both parties aligned and friendly towards you as a vendor?
You know, I'm a very outward type of a person. I have no problems with talking with Bill Gates, and I have no problem with talking with somebody who's sweeping the floors. And I personally believe that every CEO has got their pluses and minuses. That just happens to be my plus. I will have that conversation and I will let the C-level individuals know, hey, I've got this guy I'm working with down here. He is doing phenomenal things for your company, not just us, not just the things that we're bringing in here that he was smart enough to bring us in, but let me tell you about some of the things that he or she has been doing to make sure that your company succeeds and to grow at the levels that you've been mandating in your quarterly reports that you're looking for 15%, 17%. This person, and you need to keep your eye on this. And I've done that multiple times because I think the person is doing phenomenal work. Now, I'm also willing to say, look, you've got some problems down here. This person is trying really hard, but you've got people on the next two levels that either don't want to be here or don't give a damn. And you need to understand why or what. And as an executive, it's interesting. I'm going to tell a quick story about a company out on the East Coast. They're in the Carolinas. I thought they were a fantastic company until I got in there. And then my champion was phenomenal. The CEO was phenomenal. The CFO, the CIO were phenomenal. But they had this middle management gap. Here, we'll go here. The middle management gap. And sometimes that's where people and bodies go to die. They spend 20 years in middle management and that's all they do. Well, they had a middle management gap and that problem was horrible. You had ideas, concepts, thoughts, process. They wanted to go to a non-binding agreement with SAP that said, we will no longer take on your maintenance plan. We're just going to manage this and do everything ourselves. And yet the CEO is up there talking about, we are innovative. We're going to innovate this. We're going to use this. We're going to do this. Well, then mid-management would get it. It would die. And then the people below them, they're like, well, wait a second. We want to innovate. We're playing with these things. We're using these tools. We see the value in these tools. And then it would stop right there and die. And mid-management would just be like, I don't want to lose my job. I've been here for 20 years. I'm about to retire. Anything I do is going to be looked upon. And they had a massive middle management gap. And that happens a lot of times. You get these individuals, especially around AI or S4 or cloud. You had these executives in one area that would be, I'm about to retire. I've been doing this for 30 years. We're all good. You know what? I brought in IBM. We're golden. I'll never get fired for that. But if I bring in something else, I might get myself in trouble. So you had that process in there, and that really hinders from down below and it hinders up above because the message usually comes from up here. And if it doesn't get through and these people are already hearing it and doing, that just kills. And then all of a sudden you lose your people. You lose these great, bright minds that really want to go and do and do and do. And they're willing to try anything for the company and anything for the executive team. And they start leaving to go somewhere and do it somewhere else. And then you see them succeed somewhere else. Yet the upper level will never know that they left. They'll never know that they succeeded in doing exactly what he had talked about because of the mid-management trap.
If you remember like your first years selling to enterprises and now like with AI founders selling to enterprises maybe for the first time because they are beginning of their 20s and don't have the experience. What would you say? What are the things that most founders get wrong when they first try to sell to the enterprise? And what is your advice in terms of what is the fastest way to actually close a deal?
Yeah. So the first thing is don't lower your prices for any reason whatsoever. Usually they come in there and say, oh, I'm going to get a deal. Well, all of a sudden procurement comes in and says, you got to cut off 25%. Okay, sure. Here's the piece of paper. I'll do it. Yeah. No, don't do it. Okay, maybe you do a single digit here or there and make procurement happy. Hey, procurement, you got 2% off me. You know what? Good for you. So uh, I'm a big believer that my product is freaking awesome. It is, if not the best, one of the best tools, applications, products, solutions on the market today. If you can't see the value in it, I can't sell you that value by dropping it 5%. You've got to see that value. And then there's got to be my champions have got to sell the reasons why. They're the best on the market. There's a premium for that. It's not because they think that they're in their ego. No, they are the best. We need to do it right the first time. That would be the first thing I'd say to entrepreneurs. Second thing I would say to entrepreneurs is don't be afraid of the no's. You're going to get a lot of no's. Keep pushing. Oh, I know that you don't have budget. No, I don't have budget. Okay, I get it. I get it. You don't have budget. I also see that you have this pain here. You have a big problem over here. Yeah, but I don't have budget to take care of that. I'll take it. Okay, well, that's fine. That'll still going to stay there for the next 6 months and cause you even more pain and more budgetary constraints, more people constraints, more activities. No, I can't. I can't do that. Okay, let me show you ways that we can do that. And it may not be financial activities. You may have to do something else, but don't be afraid of the no's, no matter if it's no, we're not going to buy your product. No, it's too expensive. No, you're a jerk. Hey, Chris, I don't like your bald head. Okay, well, that's great. Let me fix your problems though. You've got problems. Let me fix them. Do you have this problem? Yes. Well, see how easy it was to say yes instead of no? You've got this problem. Do you want to fix this problem? Yes. Well, what's stopping you? Let them line up. Well, finances are finances. Anything can be fixed if it's just financial. But if it's people, if it's processes, if it's the activities going around it, if it's application support, if it's security, you can figure out those real easy if your tool is right for that. Financials, we all come to an agreement on what is the best beneficial. I'm a premium product. If you don't want the most premium product, then you get the next product. If you don't want that product, there's layers. And if you find that this layer is good, but you need great, okay, then we do the next one. And then you renew a new contract. And if you want great and you want outstanding, okay, we do a new contract. But it's going to be based on levels. So find their pains, get them. Don't be afraid of no, get them to a yes. And I love always asking, don't be afraid of no and get them to yes.
Yeah, I love it. That's great.
Yes, yeah, I got you to yes. I got you to yes, Johannes. Let's get this deal done.
Repeatedly today. I have one hypothetical question for you. SAP has been the backbone of enterprise operations for 50 plus years. In 5 years, do you think SAP still exists as we know it?
Wow. Oh, to be honest, I think it is going to still be a very powerful tool in the world, especially with all the sovereign clouds that they're building around the world. That's going to be huge. The fact that they control the data inside these companies and it's inside their systems, that's going to be number two. I think that they are going to probably buy more companies. And I think they're going to be a little bit more strategic. You saw some of the Qualtrics and some of the other solutions that they bought and then they got rid of. Um, and you know what? They probably didn't integrate them the best, and they probably could have done better with that. I really think that they're going to do a lot more to expand the power of Joule. And if that's by absorbing more companies and AI first companies, I think that would be very important for them. I do not see them going away or being absorbed by another company. That I think that boat sailed when Microsoft and SAP's negotiations stopped all those many years ago in the 1990s. That would have been a very interesting activity. But you never know though. You never know what's going. Hell, who would have thought that 5 years ago I would have these companies and I would be doing this from an AI perspective, and I would be working to create things. You just never know. Just keep your ears to the road and keep moving on.
Here's my last question. What's your Scotch recommendation for a founder who just closed their first enterprise contract?
Can I grab a bottle real quick? Ladies and gentlemen, my favorite Scotch is Macallan. So this one just happens to be the rare cask. I am a huge Macallan fan. I'm a Balvenie fan. I love the Highland single malts. I am not a peaty. I don't want to eat a tree or eat some grass after I enjoy. This one just so happens to be the rare cask 2020 release. So this one is going to be really smooth once I open it up.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris. This was incredible. And
You're
for
welcome.
anyone who wants to learn more about you, where should they go?
Please go to my LinkedIn and please connect with me and tell me that you heard me with Johannes. I would love to have a coffee, a great Scotch, or I will have a beer because when I'm in Germany, I do nothing but drinking beer.
Excellent. That wraps up another episode of AI to Go. If you enjoyed the conversation, share it with a friend who's building with AI. Subscribe for more insights from the builders, buyers, and backers shaping enterprise AI. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious and take your AI to go. Auf Wiedersehen.
AI to Go podcast.